Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wassalam ala khatim al-anbiya ashraf al-mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in amma ba'd. Dr. Zakir Naik and the viewers, first off, I want to say that this is a nasiha, this is not a refutation. And that's very important because we as Muslims have to work together on bigger picture issues. I saw your video originally regarding masturbation, and I spent 1 month trying to get a hold of you because I did not want to record a video. I did not want to refute. I wanted to give you nasiha, some advice about some of the academic errors, which some of them you've admitted to now, that were in your video. Unfortunately, I was not able to get a hold of you. I'm sure you're very busy, so I had to make that video. In response, you made a video amongst your QA session, and I really wish you had just reached out to me. I mean, I'm not difficult to get a hold of. I'm putting my email address in the description. If you or your people can please reach out, because I've tried to reach out to you, so we can talk offline and not make videos back and forth. Wallahi, I love you for the sake of Allah. I love what you've done with da'wah, especially towards Hindus and communities that have not been traditionally introduced to Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from you and accept our da'wah that we're doing. I'm going to make a offer to you here and at the end of the video, inshallah ta'ala, and I ask Allah to accept it from us mukhlisan, sincerely. If you can reach out to me or give me a number that I can reach out to you. I know you're busy, but it'll be easier for us to talk. It'll take less time from you than for you to make videos and me to make videos. I'd love to talk to you offline. Take off the videos that have the incorrect references and things, and inshallah work together on bigger things. I personally don't get paid for any Islamic activities that I do. I don't ask for money. Alhamdulillah, I work a regular job. The masjid doesn't pay me for my durus. I don't have any organizations or schools that I run. My YouTube channel is not monetized. We don't take money off any videos. The One Message Foundation for Da'wah, I don't take a single penny from them, alhamdulillah. I don't want any reference. I don't need you to promote my channel or mention my name. You don't know my name, that's perfectly fine. All I want is that people should know what is the correct opinions. Meaning, when we reference an opinion, we need to make sure that it is authentic, because you have a large audience. You mentioned a riwayah of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma that was weak. More than 1 million people heard you and assumed it was authentic because you relied upon it, when now you said,
he told that Dr. Zakir Naik, he respected me, he did du'as for me, Jazakallah, I thank you for that, I do du'as to you too. Then he said that the reference that Dr. Zakir Naik gave of Ibn Abbas, and took out a book and he quoted Ibn Hazm, and he said Ibn Hazm says that this is daif, and I checked up and this brother is right. I would like to thank him for correcting me.
First of all, I want to say thank you for accepting the fact that the narration you mentioned was weak, and I'm your brother in Islam. This is just a nasiha. Alhamdulillah. And I'm glad we got that clarified. And that was the point of my videos, to clarify these types of academic errors. And if I had contacted you, or if you had contacted me, if we were in touch, then we wouldn't have to make a video. I could just tell you, Dr. Zakir, may Allah reward you, this is weak, here's the proof, here's the book, here's the evidence, done. But since we didn't, I pointed that out. The unfortunate thing is, in your response, you put words in my mouth. And I really wish you hadn't, because I respect you. I did not mention Ibn Hazm anywhere in my video. I know you're referring to me, because even though you didn't remember my name, but the references you gave, I put forward, the pictures from the books and all of that. I never mentioned Ibn Hazm. I'm putting the link to my original video in its original format here, and anybody can watch it. I would really appreciate if you would watch. I know you watched it already, but apparently you didn't pay attention to it, because you said I quoted Ibn Hazm. I did not quote Ibn Hazm. Here's a clip from my original video. This is, for example, in the Sunan al-Kabir of al-Bayhaqi. And I'm going to mention from the Musannaf Abdul Razak and also from Musannaf Ibn Abi Shaybah. Everywhere this narration of Ibn Abbas is there, I looked up all of them for you. And I'm putting them on the screen. Here, if you had looked at this, you would have seen, as it's highlighted on the screen right there, that after mentioning this narration, Imam al-Bayhaqi himself says, هذا Mursalun mawqufun. This is mawquf on Ibn Abbas and it's mursal. It has a broken chain. The other narration with the different sanad that's there has al-Ajla'. Ajla' was a Shi'i da'if narrator. So both of those, going back to Ibn Abbas, are weak. Those are both weak narrations. Now, you could mention that this has also been mentioned in the Musannaf of Abdul Razak, as it's on your screen. That's also a weak narration. Now, in the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba, and again I'm putting all these on the screen as well, and I looked up each actual book to make sure that these narrations are, whether they're authentic or not. There is another sanad that also goes through Abu Yahya, as is an Abi Yahya on the screen. He is majhul al-hal. He is an unknown narrator. And here you will see highlighted on your screen where even in the Musannaf it mentions that this has a majhul narrator. طيب? So these are weak narrations. All of those from Ibn Abbas, every single sanad through all the different books, they all have weak narrators. So now you see, Dr. Zakir, may Allah reward you for the good, and may Allah reward you for admitting that that narration is weak, but may Allah forgive you for putting words in my mouth, because I did not mention Ibn Hazm. As you can see from the video, and the link to the original video is in the description, anybody can watch it. I mentioned the Sunan al-Kabir, which is right here on top, which is of al-Bayhaqi, from the original works that collected that narration, from those that have chains of reporters all the way to Ibn Abbas, and the breaks in them and the weaknesses in them, and in the Musannaf Ibn Abi Shayba, which is right behind me here, and in the Musannaf Abdul Razak, which is there. I showed the pictures, I showed the chains and the weakness. I did not mention Ibn Hazm. And I'll tell you why. This is Al-Muhalla. I have it here, it's on the other side of my library. Muhalla is actually a sharh of Mujalla. And this is not an original work that compiles the narrations with chains. This is the work of Ibn Hazm in explaining another book, and then he brings narrations, but he doesn't have the chain. Why I went to the original books, and I showed you from the Sunan al-Kabir of al-Bayhaqi, I showed you from Musannaf Ibn Abi Shayba and Musannaf Abdul Razak, because these are the original works that have the chains where they actually spoke to the one who narrated the hadith going back to Ibn Abbas. I never mentioned Ibn Hazm. I never mentioned Ibn Hazm's grading of it. I never mentioned a part of Ibn Hazm's quoting. I gave you the actual hadith with the chains, and then I gave you the weaknesses. Al-Bayhaqi, the original compiler of the hadith himself, as you saw in the clip, he says this is mursal mawquf, yani this is the weakness, it has a break and it only goes to a sahabi. So he himself, as the compiler of the hadith, not somebody later, not Ibn Taymiyyah, and we'll discuss Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayh, and not Ibn Hazm as in a fiqh book, rather the original muhaddith, not Ibn Hazm, Al-Bayhaqi, Abdul Razak al-San'ani, and Ibn Abi Shayba. I gave you those references, so I appreciate you admitting that what you quoted was weak.
But why did I not say it is daif? Because the same Ibn Abbas was quoted by Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah. And I'll come to that quotation. When he says that Ibn Abbas believed that it is permitted when necessity, he did not say it is daif. So when Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah quotes Ibn Abbas without saying it is daif, I take it for granted it's authentic. That's the reason I quoted. But now when you're quoting me another muhaddith in Ibn Hazm, who came 200 years after the death of Ibn Hazm.
Once again, dear doctor, this is the advice that I was giving you, that you said in the beginning of your second video that you have a team that you hire in India and there's people with masters and PhD. Then whoever is preparing those notes for you is not doing their job, because Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayhi, Taqiyuddin Ibn Taymiyyah, I showed his quote in Arabic in the whole thing in my first video, but he says Kalam Ibn Abbas. He doesn't say Sahhan Ibn Abbas. He didn't say it's authentic from Ibn Abbas. He just said the what has been attributed, reported, and you say that in your second video. I'll play those as well, inshallah. So this is a mistake. Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayhi in Majmu' al-Fatawa, his style of writing is he gives all the references, he gives all, but unless he says this is authentic It doesn't, do not assume that it's authentic. And here, that assumption led to you making a video that millions of people saw. At least last time I checked, was more than 1 million views. And they assumed something is authentic because you quoted it, when now you have admitted and you know was weak.
The difference between his death and Ibn Hazm, that is 260 years. Ibn Hazm came towards the end, 996 C, and he died in 1064 C or 63 C. Exactly 200 years after that, Ibn Taymiyyah was born in 263-64 C, and he died in 320 plus C. The difference is 200 years between the death and the birth, and overall difference is 260 years. And Ibn Hazm, he's a muhaddis. So when the student of knowledge, I don't even remember his name.
My name is Uthman ibn Farouk, in case you watched my video, so you should have known my name, but my name is Uthman ibn Farouk.
When he said that, I checked up. I hadn't read this quotation of Ibn Hazm, that he said that Ibn Abbas is hadith, the saying of Ibn Abbas is weak. I checked up and he was right. I thank him. So inshallah in future, I will not say that Ibn Abbas said that marriage is better than masturbation, masturbation is better than fornication. I not said because Ibn Hazm says it is daif, I agree with it.
Well, again, I did not mention Ibn Hazm. Why? I really don't know what to say, doctor. I'm really disappointed, to be very honest with you. I love you for the sake of Allah. I've always admired your da'wah work, but please rewatch my video. Anybody else that wants to, it's in the description. I never mentioned the grading of Ibn Hazm. You are correct that Ibn Hazm did weaken it, but that's not the point, because Ibn Hazm is a scholar who wrote a fiqh book, an explanation of another book, collecting some narrations. He's not the original muhaddith. I took you back to the original works and showed the weaknesses in the chains clearly. I didn't just depend, and this is why I'm baffled on what this means. But I do appreciate that you have admitted that this is weak, and I hope that now you will take down the original video, because you don't want to be promoting weak narration.
But what was shocking to me, this brother who quoted Ibn Hazm, he put a full stop where there was no full stop. Why didn't he continue?
That's pretty shocking to me as well, because I didn't quote Ibn Hazm. Doctor, please, fear Allah. You're accusing me of something that you can watch the video again. I didn't do. I did not quote Ibn Hazm. I didn't put a full stop when there's no full stop. I didn't give you a part. I showed you the actual chains. Please, this is an amana. When you go out and make these videos, this is an amana. So please watch the video again. I'm putting the link, original. I haven't taken it, I haven't edited. I even put a clip here. I did not mention Ibn Hazm, nor did I cut any quotes in half.
So I'd like to thank you for telling me that the narration of Ibn Abbas is daif, though Ibn Taymiyyah, Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah has quoted. Because of that I said it is sahih, but Ibn Hazm says it is daif. He is a muhaddis, and in hadith, of course, he is a higher level than Ibn Taymiyyah. I'd like to thank you, but I would like to correct you also, that please don't quote half. If you quote full, if you're quoting Ibn Hazm, and if you say that Ibn Abbas is daif, also quote that Ata, who said makruh is sahih.
I did not quote Ibn Hazm. I did not quote part of Ibn Hazm. I did not mention Ibn Hazm in my entire video. The whole video is right there. So I do appreciate the fact that you've admitted that the narrations from Ibn Abbas were weak, but I don't appreciate telling me that I mentioned Ibn Hazm when I didn't, or that I mentioned a part of it. And Ibn Taymiyyah, again, as I mentioned, he has many narrations that he mentions in Majmu' al-Fatawa. That's not the place to mention them, where he mentions very weak ahadith, because he's not depending on them. He does not authentic, unless he says that this is sahih. Don't assume that it is sahih, especially when Ibn Taymiyyah in the quote that you later quote, and I'll mention here, he refutes that and says it's haram. So he didn't depend on that statement of Ibn Abbas. Doesn't matter. Ibn Hazm could have authentic. That's not the point. The point is the chain is weak. I showed you the actual chain and what the original compilers like Al-Bayhaqi that actually heard from the narrators and wrote it down in his work, As-Sunan Al-Kabir, he weakened it. And then you mentioned the narration of Ata being Sahih, and it's not Sahih, and I had already explained this, but I'll explain it again. But let me take it narration by narration. So you said,
I'm giving some more quotations with references of Tabain and scholars who said it is makruh or permitted. Amir bin Dinar is narrated to have said, I do not see any problem in masturbation in Abdul Razak in his Musannaf Hadith 13594.
if you look up the hadith, I had already mentioned it in my first video and why it's weak. This is hadith number 13594, as you mentioned. This is a clip from my first video. Narration is by Ibn Jurayj. Ibn Jurayj, when he says qala, he is from the Mudallisin, as Ad-Darqutni had said, and he makes tadlis. He skips over narrators who are majruh, who are criticized, who are weak narrators. So this narration is also weak. And that's a clip from my first video. That's why I've put this little sign that says video 1 and 2 here, so you can know. If you had just paid attention to the first video, I'd already mentioned Ibn Jurayj, and you mentioned him without knowing his hal. This is why I'm saying, either you should get somebody who knows these ulum to help you, or you should learn jarh wa ta'dil, because you're promoting things without knowing their weaknesses. Ibn Jurayj is a mudallis. He does what's called tadlis. He skips over, especially when he says qala or an, and this is, you can look at the aqwal of Imam Ahmad and other scholars, and I'll mention some inshallah. So this narration was already mentioned to you was weak in the first video, but you repeat it again, so I'll put this clip again to know it's weak. So let's go to the next one.
It's mentioned in Abdul Razak in his Musannaf in Hadith 13586 that the Ibn Jurayj quoted Ata that he considered masturbation as makruh.
The funny thing is, you actually mentioned a narration that I'd already discussed, but you actually mentioned Ibn Jurayj, not knowing that he is a mudallis. So hadith number 130586, 13586, same one you mentioned, I have on the screen now from the Musannaf Abdul Razak. Here, Ibn Jurayj, he says an Ata. Ibn Jurayj is a mudallis. He hides weak narrators. So Imam Ahmad, and I put the quote here, he says that when Ibn Jurayj says qala or an from Ata, he has not heard that hadith from Ata. فَإِنَّهُ لَمْ يَسْمَعْهُ مِنْ عَطَى. This is, I put the Arabic here and I'm translating. The great scholars of hadith, this narrator Ibn Jurayj, he is a mudallis. So this narration from Ata is weak because there's a break between Ibn Jurayj and Ata, because when a mudallis says an or qala, this is a break. This is called tadlis. So this is also a weak narration.
It's further mentioned in Abdul Razak in his Musannaf, Hadith 13593, that Mujahid is narrated to have said, the early generations used to command their youth to practice masturbation. I repeat, Mujahid is narrated to have said, the early generations used to command their youth to practice masturbation. Talking about the Salaf.
And I repeat that this narration is weak, and I had said that in my first video already. So I don't understand why you're repeating those same weak narrations that I already addressed and showed you the weakness, not just from the qawl of some later alim. I could have brought Shaykh Albani's qawl, or I brought you the original works of hadith and the chains and where the weakness is. Here's the clip from my first video. So I repeat, this hadith is da'if because in this narration fihi mastur, there is a reporter who is unnamed. Wa isnad غير sahih. The sanad is not authentic. This report from Mujahid is not authentic.
Let's read or hear what Ibn Taymiyyah says in his Al-Fatwa Al-Kubra 3/439. He says, Ibn Taymiyyah, as for masturbation by the hand, it is forbidden by the majority of the scholars, but it is the most correct of the two views of the school of Ahmad. That means Ahmad ibn Hanbal had one view that it is permitted.
Dear doctor, once again, you didn't listen to what I said. In my first video, I said that there are multiple opinions attributed to Imam Ahmad on many masail, including this one. But this is why the scholars of the Hanbali madhab, like Ibn Taymiyyah, rahmatullah alayh, they go and find which is the authentic, which is the correct, what is the popular, what is the well-known opinion of Imam Ahmad. And this is the problem with your first video, is you attributed to Imam Ahmad a weak narration which is not the authentically established narration from him. And then you yourself hear from Ibn Taymiyyah admit that. I never said there is not another opinion attributed. In fact, quite to the opposite. I'll play a clip from my video where I said there are multiple opinions attributed to Imam Ahmad. Madhab, you have to understand how the madhab works. For example, many aqwal are attributed to Imam Ahmad. Because the way the fiqh of Imam Ahmad was collected, people went around to all the different students and collected. And then the ulama, the Hanabila, they specialized on figuring out which one is actually the saying of Imam Ahmad. Now, I want to play for you your original clip and then your second clip to show the academic error that I was pointing out.
The second group of scholars who say masturbation is permitted but comes in the makruh category is Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. He is of the opinion that masturbation should not be done, but if you're going to do fornication, then you can do masturbation, and he puts it in the makruh category. So the Hanbali school of thought, most of them, they say that masturbation comes under the makruh category.
So you see the error there. First, you said Imam Ahmad holds this view when you yourself read from Ibn Taymiyyah that that is not the well-known view of Imam Ahmad. That is a rare view. The well-known view, what is authentic from Ahmad, that he considered it haram. Second, you said this is the opinion of the Hanbali madhab, which is not, as you will refute yourself from your second video in a minute. And this is a very minute amount of Hanbali scholars that took this view. The majority, the Jamhur of the Hanabila and the Mu'tamid, the established position of the madhab, is it is haram. Here is yourself refuting yourself from your second video.
In his Muqtasar al-Fatwa al-Misriya, the Egyptian fatwa, page number 34. Masturbation is haram in the sight of majority of the scholars, and it is most prevalent views narrated about Ahmad.
So you see the difference, right? This is the mistake. In the first video, you said Imam Ahmad's view that it's makruh. But in your own reading now, you're reading from Ibn Taymiyyah that that's not true. The most prevalent, the established view of Imam Ahmad that it's haram. And you said this is the view of the Hanabila, and it's not. It's a minority view in the madhab, but the majority of the madhab and the mu'tamid of the madhab. And in my first video, I gave all the books and references and pictures of the madhab itself as well. I'm not going to repeat those. But then you continued.
There is another group of scholars who say it is makruh, very clearly. Even the above groups permitted, but not placing whether it's makruh or mubah. These group of scholars emphatically mention it is makruh. One of them is Ata.
The narration of Ata is not authentic. I've explained this in the first video. I explained it in this video. And I'm going to put the clip again just so you can see. Jurayj says Qala or An from Ata. He has not heard that hadith from Ata. فَإِنَّهُ لَمْ يَسْمَعَهُ مِنْ Ata. This is, I put the Arabic here and I'm translating. The great scholars of hadith, this narrator Ibn Jurayj, he is a mudallis. So this narration from Ata is weak because there's a break between Ibn Jurayj and Ata, because when a mudallis says an or qala, this is a break. This is called tadlis. So this is also a weak narration. Then you said
Jabir bin Zayd, student of Ibn Abbas, he said it is makruh.
Jabir bin Zayd, which in your original video you said Ja'far ibn Zayd, and I clarified that it's Jabir ibn Zayd. In my first video, my dear doctor, I clarified this hadith is da'if as well. I know you watched it, but apparently you didn't pay attention to it because you're repeating those same narrations. I'm going to just put a clip from my first video which shows clearly this narration from Jabir ibn Zayd is da'if. And it's a da'if narration because it's reported from a Thawri from Abbad ibn Mansur. Abbad ibn Mansur, he is from the Shaykh al-Thawri, but he is da'if, and there is no other riwayah that takes it to him except through the sanad. So this is not established. It is a weak narration. Then you continue to mention this.
There's another group of scholars who say it is mubah. Mubah means you can do it whenever you want. There is no sin at all. You don't require a reason for it. And that list is also quite big. It's not one or two. Mubah. One of them is Mujahid. He said it is mubah.
This is also da'if. I have already pointed that out. Hadith number 13,593, 13593 from Musannaf Abdul Razak. I'm just going to play a clip from my first video because I have already clarified why the riwayah from Mujahid is da'if. In this narration, fihi mastur, there is a reporter who is unnamed. وَإِسْنَادْ غَيْرْ صَحِيح. The sanad is not authentic. This report from Mujahid is not authentic.
Amir ibn Dinar, it is mubah.
Then you repeated Amir ibn Dinar, which is actually Amr ibn Dinar. And I've already pointed out the weakness of this twice. Narration is by Ibn Jurayj. Ibn Jurayj, when he says qala, he is from the Mudallisin, as Ad-Darqutni had said, and he makes tadlis. He skips over narrators who are majruh, who are criticized, who are weak narrators. So this narration is also weak. So you see, in my first video, I'd already pointed this out. And I gave you the reference from Darqutni, and I've given in this video the reference from Ahmad about Ibn Jurayj. These are all weak narrations, and you're still promoting them.
Al-Hasan al-Basri, mubah.
Again, Hasan al-Basri, the narration is weak. These are weak narrations. If you had just reached out, or not just to me, somebody could have helped you look up these narrations, then we wouldn't be spreading weak narrations to the ummah. So here with the narration of Hasan al-Basri, you see it completely skips over a narrator. He doesn't even mention the narrator. He hides the name of a majhul, unknown narrator. So the narration is da'if. Just look up the sanad yourself and just read the wording and you'll see that. Then you said,
so to say that not a single tafsir and Fath al-Qadir, mashallah, it's a very famous tafsir, it's a respected tafsir. I do agree that most of the tafsir are silent on this issue. There are many tafsir who say it is haram and masturbation is haram based on this verse. I didn't try and hide that. But to say that not a single tafsir says that masturbation is not included in this verse, this I'm quoting.
Tayyib. Then the quote from Fath al-Qadir of al-Shawkani. Here's the actual book, Fath al-Qadir of al-Shawkani. You misunderstood what I said, and I'm going to play the clip from my own video. Now, once again, my respected doctor, you have totally misattributed a saying. You're talking about Surah Mu'minun, verses 5 to 7. And you say Ibn Abbas radiyan thought these verses did not mean about masturbation. That is not true. Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma did not explain these ayah to say that it does not include masturbation. Neither did Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Neither one of them said this about these ayat. You are inferring from a weak narration that has nothing to do with these ayat that Ibn Abbas radiyan would make this assumption, but that's an incorrect assumption on a weak narration that has nothing to do with these ayat. Rather, in the books of tafsir like At-Tabari, Ibn Kathir and so on, if you go through them, you will find that Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma did not make tafsir of these ayat in this way. It is not established. Neither did Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Rather, what is authentic and established, and this is from the Sunan al-Kabir of al-Bayhaqi, that regarding these ayat, al-Shafi'i, Imam al-Shafi'i, the great scholar, he said that this specifically means that masturbation is haram. And what we find from Aisha radhiyallahu anha and others is that they said that anything other than your wife and your amma, to go to any of that is haram. In fact, Ibn Kathir and others all mentioned these aqwal to show the Sahaba and the Salaf took these ayat to mean masturbation haram. No mufassir has presented a qawl of Ibn Abbas or Imam Ahmad to show that these ayat are not in reference to masturbation. Do you see your misunderstanding here, doctor? I did not say that no mufassir said that these ayat are not about masturbation. What I said is, you quoted Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma and Imam Ahmad regarding these ayats from Surah Mu'minun, saying that they felt that this was not about masturbation, and that was a mistake. And no mufassir, including Ash-Shawkani in Fath al-Qadir, said that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma or Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal explained the ayats from Surah Mu'minun, saying that this is not about masturbation. That's not about these ayat. Those references about their qawl is not about these ayat. Watch my video again. This is what I said, and let me play your clip so you can understand why I was saying. This is your clip where you said that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma and Imam Ahmad explained the ayah in Surah Mu'minun not to be about masturbation, and that is just an academic error.
The verse of the Quran, I do agree with the second group of scholars. For example, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, may Allah be pleased with him, and the other group of scholars, Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him. I believe with Ibn Abbas' call that it is not haram. And this verse of Surah Mu'minun, chapter number 23, verse number 5 to 7, does not include masturbation. It's not prohibited. It is restricted to sexual intercourse.
So the error here is Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, his qawl about masturbation, which is weak to begin with, was not about the ayah. He did not explain the ayah such. When you said that Ibn Abbas and Imam Ahmad felt these ayat were not about masturbation. This is not in any book of tafsir, not in Fath al-Qadir, not anywhere else. In the end, those narrations are weak to begin with, but the referencing was wrong. My dear respected Dr. Zakir Naik, may Allah reward you for all the good that you've done. Wallahi, I still make dua for you. This is not a refutation. This is a nasiha. This is an advice. I'm going to end with just a few points. One, that I love you for the sake of Allah, and I hope that you will reach out to me or give me a way to reach out to you so we can talk and not have to go back and forth. I hope that you will take down those videos with those weak narrations and maybe put up another video that will show the authentic narrations. I am here to help you with that. I never claimed consensus that masturbation is haram. Watch my video. Wallahi, I never claimed ijma', consensus, in my video. What I presented was that the four well-known madhahib, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbali, the mu'tamid relied upon view of all four of these madhahib is that masturbation is haram. There are ulama who from these madhahib and others who held the view that it was makruh, and this is true. I never said there is ijma on this issue. But you had misattributed to the Hanabila in your first video that their opinion as a madhab, the most of them and from Imam Ahmad, was that it's makruh, which is incorrect, and I've given the references. Past that, my nasiha to you was not to use weak narrations, especially when you are leaving out those narrations that mention masturbation to be haram because of their weakness. And I agree with you. That's why there are hadiths that are attributed to the Prophet ﷺ showing masturbation haram, but I didn't mention them. Why? Because they're weak. There is hadith of Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma showing that tahrim, and that's the strongest of these, but there is still a weakness in it, so I left all of those out, rather relying upon the authentic narrations. Imam Ash-Shawkani, a great scholar that he is from 1200 Hijri about, right? He died in 1250 Hijri, I believe. This is a very late scholar who has an opinion, and we respect his opinion. But Imam Ash-Shafi'i is no doubt a greater scholar. He's from the Salaf, he's from the early generations. He is from the Imma who were much earlier and greater in status. And he clearly explained the ayat of Surah Mu'minun to say this includes tahrim of masturbation. In the end, what I'm going to say is, no doubt you have the right to any opinion you like. I have never said you can't hold a view. But my nasiha to you is the research to make sure you're presenting the authentic opinions. And when you mention an opinion and it's weak, don't represent that without showing its weakness, because in the ummah who trusts you, who watches you, who follows you, take in weak narrations thinking they're authentic. I would love for you to work with me. I don't want fame. Wallahi, I've seen a lot of people in comments from your fans that try to criticize me, saying you want to make money is only because they don't know me. I don't take a single penny from my masjid, from any dawah. If any dawah organization invite me to speak, even if I fly, I'll pay for my own tickets, I'll pay for my own hotel. I have never taken a single penny for any dawah activities. I don't run any organizations, I don't fundraise. I work a regular job myself to earn my own rizq. So I don't want fame. I don't want you to even mention me. But if you have such narrations, let me know. I'm willing to help. I can refer you to Farid Responds or other brothers who can help you with this. You don't even have to mention us. No plug is needed, no money, just so you present the authentic information to the ummah, and after that you can hold any view you like. As long as it's within the Ahl Sunnah, and no doubt that your view that is makruh is within the Ahl Sunnah, but your references were incorrect, and even in your second video are incorrect. At least present the picture correctly to the ummah, and we will hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah guides us all towards the haqq. Wa jazakumullahu khairan.